Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the podcast where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. I'm Professor Sides. You can follow me on Twitter at Professor Sides. Today is Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. This episode covers today's best Major League Baseball bets. In case you're new here, I built a mathematical model for win probability, and I analyze weather data in order to come up with some plays on totals. I'll make one pick and one pick only on every game played Monday through Saturday. That doesn't mean I recommend you do the same. I'm just giving you the information as to what I like the most and where my head is for each matchup. As I go through the plays, remember that there are no locks in gambling, so I'll give you our loves, likes, and leans to help you decide which picks you might want to play and how I recommend scaling wagers. With that in mind, please understand that good and bad variance will occur, so as much as I'd like to say it will be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Down a few units yesterday, not the start to the week that we wanted, did get a couple of those A winners. So all in all, could have been worse. We'll look to do better today. Before we get to that slate, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free, and the only way to ensure that you don't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. Share with a friend if you know others in the game. Hit me up on Twitter or drop a comment if you're on YouTube. I love those and try to respond to as many as I can. And of course, as one last reminder, I encourage all my listeners to have multiple sports books in their portfolios, especially ones with reduced juice dime lines. That's minus 105 on each side for MLB games. With these at your disposal, you should be able to find an edge on any game. I have a couple of these that I recommend. Links are in the show's description and on the website, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/sportsbooks. Covering more in-depth 9 games today. 1:10 Eastern first pitch. Game 1 of a doubleheader in Oakland. Tigers at the A's. Tariq Skubal versus Frankie Montas. Weather-wise, it's going to be a chilly day out in Oakland. We're going to start off in the mid to low 50s, close in the mid to high 50s. So again, that colder weather is much more conducive to an under play ball, not going to fly as much. Wind will be blowing out, though, at about 10 miles an hour. So that probably balances that out. Of course, as you see there, if you're with us on YouTube on the screen, there a park factor of 94 for Oakland. It's definitely a pitcher's park. Tons of foul ground, which allows pop flies to be, in foul territory to be more likely to be outs instead of just foul balls. Park is pretty large dimension-wise as well. Some of those fences are tall. So definitely a pitcher's park there. Model says A's minus 109. So I'm seeing A's minus 105. So slight edge there on Oakland if you are interested. Personally, I think Montas is a better pitcher than Skubal. I think the Tigers' offense is better than Oakland, but that's not really saying anything. Feels like a coin toss game for me. Oakland's at home. So if you wanted to lay a really short number like that with Oakland, I don't think that's a bad idea. Personally, instead, I'm going first 5, under 3. It's plus 105 odds, and I'm giving that a B grade. The reason I'm going this route, I don't trust either offense, and I like both starting pitchers. I have a couple different ways I look at starting pitchers, and depending on which way you look, Montas is somewhere between good and great. And I think that's pretty accurate. There's times when he looks just fantastic. There's times when he does look a little bit, in that more second tier category of starting pitcher. But either way, we're kind of picking nits, right? If he's good or great. And Detroit's offense isn't good. Got an easy A winner yesterday on this one. Scubal's a solid pitcher. The A's offense isn't very good. So I think under's the way to look in this one. I think what my take should be on these totals is that in these situations, the total should be lower than they are. But then as we start seeing warmer weather and teams like the Reds who just keep playing over, we'll talk about them next, I feel like those totals should be getting higher and higher, and some of these unders should be getting lower and lower, and there's just not enough spread between what the totals are. And I totally understand regression to the mean, but I don't think that the weather conditions we've seen and the ball doing what the ball's doing, not flying out very well, I just don't think they're adjusting enough to some of these under spots. I think this game total should be 6. It's 6.5. So I think under on the full game makes sense. I see a game playing out like yesterday, but I just don't like 6.5 personally. So I will go first 5, under 3 plus odds. I understand we might push. That doesn't really bother me. If we're thinking about long-term profitability, if you pay more to get wins, you have to also, and that means, it means you also have to lose less, right? Because you're paying that price. So it's not that I don't like to win. It's that I'd like to not lose more. And those aren't quite the same thing, right? When you're playing, you hear that a lot, right? If you're an athlete, you hear, playing to win is different than playing not to lose. And in sports, I think you got to play to win. But in gambling, I think a lot of times it's play to not lose, right? And that doesn't mean that you give up on the odds either. I mean, we're getting good odds here. And that's part of the point, is that we know we're going to lose on total type plays like this. We know we're going to lose at minimum, 40, 45, maybe upwards of 50% of the time. Even if we know what we're doing and we have good angles, we know we're going to lose a lot. So getting the better odds here protects us a little bit. And if we push, nothing happened, it's like we just move on, no big deal, right? So I'm not afraid to push here, and I'd rather go first 5 under 3, risk the push, than go under 6.5 for the game and then be 3-3 in the 10th inning and know that we've lost. So that's the direction I'm going, but I still think full game under makes a lot of sense. I just think first 5 is better. To the night game, 6:40 Eastern, Brewers at the Reds. Switching ideas here from an extreme pitcher's park to an extreme hitter's park. Freddie Peralta versus Hunter Green. A warm night to start off in Cincinnati. Will be in the low 80s and will close still in the mid to low 70s. No real wind to speak of. Model says Brewers minus 182. That offers no value on either side. This is a tough one to peg, really, because I don't know what to make of both pitchers. I talked about Hunter Green last time. Obviously, the potential's there. It hasn't happened really yet. I haven't been that impressed just yet. Obviously, we know he can go out there and have a fantastic start because we know the stuff is there. The Brewers, even though they lost yesterday, still put up some runs and got to Castillo, which is what we were hoping for. We just didn't expect Woodruff to fall apart like that, and the Brewers bullpen to fall apart like that. But this is what the Reds have been doing. I kind of mentioned this. I project the Reds to be, league average, maybe a little bit below offensively, but they continue to score and they continue to give up runs. And so rather than try to figure out which of these two kind of Jekyll and Hyde type pitchers is going to show up tonight, I think we just have to back the over. It's worked in these Reds games. I've done it a few times. There's been a few times when I look back and said I wish I would have done it more. I think in these this over stretch the Reds have had, it's something like 11 of 12 or 11 of 13 or something like that. We've been on a team total under or team total over or a game over on 4 or 5 of them, but we should have been on a lot more clearly. And I think that's the way to look today. I'm going with a B pick. Over 8 is juiced at minus 125, so you might have to go over 8.5 depending on how many books you have and depending on where this number goes as the day moves along. But I think over 8 is a really solid play. I think over 8.5 is a really solid play. I think this total should be 9. And at 9, I still play the over because we have that push protection. But at 9, at least it makes me think, and it makes me a little bit more hesitant than a number like 8 or 8.5 would. Both of these pitchers, we could easily see a repeat of last night where both pitchers just don't look sharp. Both pitchers give up 3-4 runs. And I guarantee you both pitchers give up 3 or 4 runs with the way the Reds bullpen looks. Even if both just give up 3 with the way the Reds bullpen looks, it won't finish 4-3. It won't finish 5-3. And so I think over is the smart play here. I think that's the way the Reds have been playing, and for the most part, the way the Brewers have been playing too. I think that's the way to look on that one. Not an A pick for me. I debated an A play. This is a B plus play. This was one of the two that I really almost got to, and I just couldn't quite get there, simply because there is the off chance that both of these pitchers being inconsistent, if both of them show up and pitch well, that over is going to be a tougher ask, and we're going to really have to get into that Reds bullpen. So it's just one I'm a little leery of that. Just couldn't quite get to an A pick, but I do like this over 8 a lot. 7-5 Eastern first pitch. We have Blue Jays at the Yankees. Kikuchi versus Severino. It'll be another chilly night in New York. Little in the low 60s, upper 50s to close. Winds blowing in 10 to 15 miles an hour from left field. Definitely under weather there. Model says Yankees minus 155. And that's the way I would look here. I just don't like Kikuchi. I've talked about this before. I don't think he's the pitcher he used to be. I really debated on this one game under. The number is 7. I think game under makes a lot of sense. I've mentioned it before with these two teams. I swear every time these two teams play, 4 out of the 5 matchups, 5 out of the 6, type are playoff type games where they're low scoring. It's 2-2 late. And that just sets us up for the under. And so I know that both these teams have great offenses, but the Blue Jays were an under team last year. It may surprise you, but that's just what the facts are. The Yankees have been kind of an under team for the most part this year. We've gotten Yankees unders, 3 games in a row. And so part of that's weather. When it warms up in the summer in New York and those Yankees bats get going, I'm going to flip on that. We're going to ride their overs, but for right now, I like under with both of these teams and with this matchup, the way they tend to play each other, the way the managers handle the bullpens against each other, it always has that playoff feel. Almost went game under 7. I decided to flip instead and go team total here. I went Blue Jays under 3.5, and it's minus 140, so a lot of juice there. So you may have better odds and go under 3. That's fine as well. B pick for me on this one. This is the other one that I mentioned, really a B to an A plus type pick. Just couldn't quite get there with an A grade. Just because there's always these offenses are just good. And so it's just a little bit of hesitancy with regards to that. And then the other factor is as the game moves along, the winds might shift a little bit to more across than more in. So just depending on exactly what that wind does, it may not give us quite the boost we're hoping for. Part of the reason the Yankees have been such an under team has been they're playing in under weather. It's chilly and the wind's blowing in, right? So I think under is the way to look, almost an A grade. I don't love these odds on this team total. So, yeah, whether it's game total under 7 or Blue Jays team total under, I think either one makes a lot of sense. My official pick there on the board, Blue Jays team total under 3.5, is a B grade, but it's definitely almost an A. 7:40 Eastern, first pitch, Astros at the Twins. Justin Verlander versus our boy Joe Ryan. Weather-wise will be pretty nice in Minnesota, especially for May. Mid-70s to start, mid-60s to close. No real wind to speak of. If it does gust up a little bit, it'll be mostly across, maybe a little bit in. Probably not going to help us a ton with an under. Model says Astros minus 111, so Twins plus 124 would offer some value. I like that the model's coming around on just how good Joe Ryan is. And a total of 6.5. I really thought about full game under here, but it's kind of like I mentioned earlier with Oakland. Total of 6.5, I just don't like. I think it's the right play. I think this is going to be a real low-scoring game with these two pitchers that I absolutely trust. The Twins' offense isn't great either, so I think full game under makes a lot of sense. I just don't like 6.5. I'm going to go first 5. It's a similar story as we talked about earlier. The number's under 3, and it's plus 105. I'm giving this an A grade, though. I like this one a little bit more than I like Detroit and Oakland, just because I think the starting pitchers are better in this game relative to the offenses more so than that afternoon game. So what I mean by that is I think Verlander and Joe Ryan are better than Montas and Skubal by a larger degree than the offensive uptick from Detroit and Oakland is to Houston and Minnesota. So that's how I differentiated between an A and a B there. But again, I like both of them. It's just this one to me just got that little bit extra of a boost. I see both of these starting pitchers cruising for a bit. And I still think full game under makes a lot of sense. I just want to get my money and get out of here in case we end up in extra innings. I just don't like playing under 6.5 if I can avoid it. 8:05 Eastern, first pitch, Royals at the Rangers. Brad Keller versus Martin Perez in the Dome here in Arlington, or if the roof is open, should be a pleasant night that shouldn't affect the way the game plays too much. Model says Rangers minus 127. The number I'm seeing right now is Rangers minus 128. I don't think that's a bad way to look. This Royals team, I feel like they've given up. Yesterday, just a heartbreaking loss in the first 5. The Royals left Carlos Hernandez out there in that 5th inning, just hung him out to dry. I mean, brutal decision making. They let him face the entire lineup, gives up hits back-to-back to 8-9 hole, lets him keep pitching, gives up more hits, hits a batter. And they hit a batter, and they left him. They hit a batter, and I think we still had the push on the first 5 under 4. Hits a batter to load the bases at 3-1. He's already given up 3 runs in the inning, loaded the bases, just hit a batter, and no, let him keep throwing. I don't know what's in people's heads, but man, it feels like the Royals just gave up yesterday. It felt like the Royals were playing in September in the let's see if we can get this guy to work out of the gym, because that's a skill and they got to learn that. And I totally, good teams let that happen in AAA, right? They don't do that at the big league level, but you do have to let guys figure out how to work out of a jam. But that's the sort of thing that you do in August and September when the season's over, not in May. And that, I think just blind fading the Royals kind of makes a lot of sense here, especially with a short number and a solid pitcher in Martin Perez. I've talked about the Royals' bats are just brutal. Rangers minus 128, I think makes a lot of sense. Instead, I'm going to go full game under. I'm going to go under 8 with a B pick. I think we have a little bit more protection on this because of the fact that we push on the number 8. So I think this one loses less often. And so I'm going to play that direction. As I mentioned, the Royals' bats are awful. The new park here in Arlington favors pitchers more than hitters. Both pitchers are respectable. And so I think under 8's the best play in this one. I'm giving it a B grade, but I like the Rangers as well. 8:10 Eastern first pitch, Guardians at the White Sox. In a game yesterday that, my goodness, the White Sox were cruising, had a 6-run lead in the 8th or the 9th or something like that, and then just completely falls apart, gives up a grand slam with 2 outs in the 9th to tie it. And then I think that same guy hits a 3-run home run in extras, and the Guardians put up, 72 runs last night is what it feels like in the last couple of innings of that one. Cal Quantrill versus Lucas Giolito today. 2 pitchers that I like a lot. Weather-wise, we're going to start off relatively warm, 82 degrees. Close in the mid-70s. A little bit of a chance of rain as the game goes on. So it's obviously something to keep an eye on there. Model says White Sox minus 159, so would say the Guardians might have a little bit of value. I'm not going that direction. I don't want to fade Lucas Giolito unless I'm getting great value, and I don't think this spot offers great value. Instead, I'm going to go to the fact that I think Giolito is a great pitcher. I really like Cal Quantrill. I think he's undervalued. Both these offenses can struggle. I'm going to go first 5 under 3.5. It's even money, which I like, and I'm giving this a B grade. I don't know what's going on with these bullpens and what the heck happened at the end of that game yesterday, but I want no part of if there's a repeat tonight. Hendricks is a solid closer, but he's been used a lot. I think last week, towards the end of the week, he was used in 5 of 6 days, which was 5 games in a row. And they were already early this week, and he was used again. So, he's pitched a ton. At some point, you just got to – at some point, if they keep throwing him, he's going to keep giving up runs because the arm can't handle that. Or at some point, they're just going to have to say he's unavailable, right? And that makes their bullpen a little bit weaker. I think this is a good under spot, but I don't want to be invested full game, especially after what I saw last night. So I'll go first 5 under here, 3.5, even money. B pick for me, one I like, but with the warmer weather, not one I love, especially because wind-wise, it's going to be in by the end of the game, but early on, it might be more across. And so it's one of those things where I don't want to be over-invested in a situation where if the wind isn't really blowing in and it's in the 80s, the ball might carry a little bit more, a couple swings of the bat, and all of a sudden we've lost this one. So not an A grade for me on this one. The weather doesn't line up for it, but I still think under is the way to look. I'll go first 5 under, 3.5 at even money. Cubs at the Padres, 9:40 Eastern first pitch. Just an awful showing by the Padres yesterday. Every time I start to come around to the Padres, they do that to me. So I don't really know what to make of that. I think on the whole, I still think they're a really good team. But last night was really disappointing against the Cubs team, against a pitcher in Kyle Hendricks, who had a double-digit road ERA for the season last night coming into the night and has had that same sort of issue, not to that extreme, of course, last year, traveling after the Sunday night game. and just laid an egg. The Padres did. That's a really frustrating and disappointing showing from them. I expect better things tonight. Wade Miley gets the ball for the Cubs. Mike Clevinger for the Padres. I project Clevinger to pitch pretty well. He looked pretty good last start out. Struggled a little bit at the end, which is to be expected. But as he continues to get more starts under his belt, I expect good things from him. Wade Miley, very respectable pitcher. I still think below average, but a guy who's not going to get destroyed too often, is going to go out there and eat some innings. Not a solid, not a bad pitcher. But I do think Clevinger is the better pitcher. Model agrees with that. Says Padres minus 199. So I'm going to go back to the well here. I'm going to go Padres minus 151, and I'm going to give this an A grade. I think the Padres bounced back after last night. I think they've got the better pitcher, the better offense. And I think bullpens are probably about a wash. Hopefully it shouldn't matter. The Padres should be ahead early in this one. They should be able to get a couple off of Miley, and they should be able to hold that lead the whole game. I love the Padres here. Minus 151 is my A play. Total-wise, total 7.5. You could default to under on this one. I don't think that's a bad idea, especially depending on exactly how you feel about Wade Miley. Again, I think he's probably a little bit below average. So if you think he's better than that, take the game under. I think makes a lot of sense. Or the first 5 and get out of Dodge. That way you don't have to worry about who pitches in the bullpen. Can make sense too. But I love the Padres here at minus 151. Marlins at the Diamondbacks. Jesus Luzardo versus Madison Bumgarner. Two pitchers here I definitely like. Two pitchers here that people and the models, I think everybody's underrating given the changes that they have made. Total on this one's 8. Under 8 at plus 105. A grade for me. This total makes absolutely 0 sense. Bumgarner's that type of guy who, after getting tossed the last game, after the first inning, I feel like is going to come out with a chip on his shoulder and go like vintage 7 innings, no runs type ball. Like that seems like the type of guy he is. Most major league pitchers, I don't think operate that way. Most professional athletes don't. I think most professional athletes, are just, they have a composure that I think the rest of us, mere mortals don't have, right? They have seen the adversity. They've always been good. Their lives are just different than, most of us. And most of them, I think, can really reset and put things behind them because they had to, because that's what they've learned and done their whole life. But Bumgarner just seems like that type of guy who's like just has that fire in him. We've seen him do that sort of thing in the playoffs, right? So I mean, I've liked Bumgarner a lot. I think he I love his velocity's back up. I love him pairing up with a great pitching coach like Strom. Expect great things from him this season. I've been impressed so far. I think he continues that. Luzardo changing up basically about everything he pitches coming over from Oakland has been fantastic this year. This number is way too high. This number should be 6.5. I don't understand it whatsoever. Model says this is a coin toss game and the Diamondbacks are plus 123. I think the Diamondbacks make a lot of sense here as well. My hesitation playing the Diamondbacks is just that I don't do any manual overrides to the model. And I don't know how to tell it that I've done normal, traditional research, and I've seen the changes that Luzardo's made. I don't know how to tell it that. I can manually override it, but that's not sound statistical practices. So I don't for instance, I project Luzardo at a 4.19 ERA for the rest of the season. I would be shocked if he had a 4 ERA this season. I just don't see how that happens given what I've seen from him. We know he has the pedigree, and his struggles, I think, are solved. But I don't know how to tell the model that. And if I start telling the model just, hey, only react to the last couple of things that you're seeing, it's just going to bounce all over the place, and that's not good for long-term projections. It's only these one-off cases. And so my only hesitation with playing the Diamondbacks at plus 123 is the model doesn't really know how to handle these one-off things. Luzardo's one of them. So I don't really want to fade Luzardo. I also don't want to fade Bumgarner. So like I said, two pitchers I really love, but two pitchers that I want to back. I mentioned yesterday the Diamondbacks might be decent. They got us the win yesterday. So if you like the plus odds, I don't think it's a bad play. But personally, I'm just not fading Luzardo. I'm going under. You can go first 5 under as well. Full game under. It doesn't really matter. I'll take the full game under here just because I don't project either offense to be anything great. Both bullpens are solid. And so I think I'd rather just have the full 9. And that way, yesterday I think it was kind of like 3-3 or so after 5, and then 1 run to score the rest of the game. So we may see something like that too. Here, you just never know, right? So the first 5 giveth and the first 5 taketh away, right? And so I think that's a solid way to look. But I'd rather have the full game here. I'm not really worried about either bullpen. I think whichever way you look, it's got to be some form of an under with these two pitchers. Under 8 plus 105, a pick for me there. 9:40 Eastern, first pitch, Phillies at the Mariners. Aaron Nola versus Robbie Ray. Model says Mariners minus 106. And so would say there's value on the Mariners plus 111. I don't know what's going on with the Mariners lately. I feel like all of their good luck from last year has just come crashing down in like 3 of the last 5 games or something. It's been surprising. The ball's really kind of been flying out of that park. So it's a little bit concerning here. But I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under 7. It's minus 120. I'm giving this a B grade. I really like both these pitchers. I don't want under 6.5. I don't want under first 5 under because these two pitchers are ones that can definitely give us length. And if both of these guys go 7, it shortens it to where we probably only see the better bullpen guys, which makes the full game under more attractive. So I like the full game under 7. Only a B pick, though. And normally I would give, a week ago I would have given this an A pick. The Phillies offense mostly isn't good at this point. I don't think the Mariners offense is anything great, but the last week or so, seeing the games the Mariners have been playing and the way the ball's flying out there, I got to downgrade this to a B just because I'm still on the under, but it's like I'm a little bit hesitant given what's happened there. I don't know if Major League Baseball's changed up the balls. I don't know if it's something with the humidor that they're storing them in. And it's surprising because a lot of nights there that I've turned it on, it's a chilly night and the roof's open. People are wearing sleeves. I don't know what the exact temperature is, but it's not warm for sure. It's never warm at night in Seattle anyway, right? Ball's just flying out. So I don't know what's going on there. So I can't give it an A grade, but pitcher and offense-wise, this sets up to be an under. So I'll go full game under 7 at minus 120 B pick. I don't like 6.5. If you're only looking at 6.5s, then that's when I start looking first 5. But like I said, I think full game offers the more value because of the length I think the starters are going to give us. That'll take us to extra innings, some rapid fire stuff right here. I have a few C picks. I'll take the Dodgers on the run line with a C pick. I don't know what to make of that game. I assume the Dodgers will do better than they did yesterday. We talked about that Sunday night travel spot. Odds are really high on that one. So I'll take Dodgers run line, only a C pick. Nothing really jumps out at me there. Red Sox and Braves, I'll back Kyle Wright, C pick on the Braves at minus 132. Red Sox offense is just really surprisingly bad. I don't think they're going to be a top 5 offense. I don't project them to be a top 5 offense, but I project them to be better than they've been. So I'll back the Braves at a short number, just a C pick there on Kyle Wright. Race at the Angels, I'll go first 5 under, 4.5. That's a C pick. A chilly night again in Anaheim, so I think under's the way to look. But last night, runs happen like crazy. And kind of like I said, what my fear was, Ohtani hit 2 home runs, Trout hits a home run. And that's why I said that the problem with the Angels is they have 3 really good hitters right now. And if you can get those guys out, the Angels don't score. But if those guys are hitting home runs, especially people on base, under's real tough to hit. So I'll go first 5 under, 4.5 in that one because it's a chilly night. Both pitchers are okay, but not one I love. So just a lean for me on that one. There's game 2 of the Athletics Tigers that has no line yet. The Mets and the Nationals. The Mets have not confirmed Tyler McGill yet. That's who I'm thinking they're going to use. So I have a number on that one on my sheet, but we'll wait for that to confirm and see what number the sportsbook gives. And then the Cardinals have not confirmed a starting pitcher for their game. So I'll update Twitter on those when we know more later in the day. So my A picks, Astros and Twins, first 5 under 3 at plus 105. Cubs at the Padres minus 105. And then Marlins at the Diamondbacks, full game under 8 at plus 105. I'll give you a couple bonus hockey picks tonight. We're 2-1 here on the hockey plays in those Stars games. Got another under last night. Tonight, I'll take the Wild at minus 140 and the Maple Leafs at minus 125. Both of these series are tied 2-2. I'll take the home teams in both. I think the Wild should be much bigger favorites than minus 140. And then in that Toronto-Tampa series, one that's been good in that it's split, but neither game has been close. I'm not saying that tonight will be close, but at some point you have to assume these teams might play a close game. I think the Leafs at home should be a little bit bigger favorites than minus 125. The Leafs do this thing, and it's not just like 30 years ago. Because I think what happened 30 years ago is mostly irrelevant. But even the last several years, the Leafs have done this thing where if the series if they're down, they play well. And if they're up, they play awful. And if they're tied, they tend to play okay. I think at home, I think the Leafs get it done at minus 125. But I tell you this much, if the Leafs do win tonight, given what I've seen, they probably would lay an egg in Tampa in Game 6. So it should be a couple of fun hockey games there. I'll give both of those a B grade and see if we can get another couple of hockey winners. Which is all I've got for you today. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Picks with the Professor. A reminder, check out the Google Sheet for model picks, projections, and results. You can find that link. If you've lost it there, it's on the website, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com. If you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button to ensure all the sports betting content we provide on this channel is dropped right into your feed. I will see you tomorrow. And until then, remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.